Well, the Illinois General Assembly continuing their spring session today. Welcome back, Bishop on air. That's why I got the jacket on. I'm going to be heading back out to the state capitol here shortly to track down everything that's happening. Yesterday, they had several different hearings. Just to kind of recap a bit here of where we're at in this process of the state legislature. Civics lesson, all right, with Bishop on air. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Illinois has a General Assembly, a House, and a Senate. And as part of the legislative branch, they have 2-year terms, the General Assembly. Now, every state house seat is up for election every 2 years, all right? Senate seats are kind of staggered, right? You got 4-year terms and 6-year terms. But the General Assembly, the House and the Senate, they have 2-year terms. So we're in the second of a 2-year term for the General Assembly. I believe it's the 103rd General Assembly. So, they've already filed, between two chambers, 7,000, 8,000 bills or something. Tons of resolutions. Last year, they passed 665 bills into law. The governor signing most of those. They then came back during veto session last year in the fall, and they addressed things like nuclear energy and such. And then they took the winter break. One thing they did before, one thing they didn't do before they left was extend the Invest in Kids School Choice Scholarship Program, which is something I imagine we'll hear a lot more about in the days and weeks ahead. And that's the private school choice scholarship program that allows for individuals to give private donations in order for individuals to get their kids into a school of their choice. So that's something that legislators did not do before the end of the year, was re-up that Invest in Kids School Choice Scholarship Program. I see that the video did go out, but we should be reconnected. And again, I think that's why it's important to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we do record these locally and upload the segments separately from the live stream. So hopefully you do get some benefit from that. So regardless, all right, so they finished up last year, and now they're in the second year of the 2-year term, and it's spring session. Big thing they've got to do is deal with the budget. Now, the budget starts July 1st. That's the beginning of the fiscal year. Illinois has like a $50 billion state spend. We get an additional, I want to say like $80 billion in federal money. So the overall budget's actually like $130 billion that the state of Illinois spends. But we always hear about the state side of your tax dollars, and that's about $50+ billion. So we'll hear how the governor wants to spend your tax dollars coming up February 21st, and we'll review some of the priorities he lays out. So between now and February 21st, you've got several days this week. They're in session, and I think they take the week off, and they come back the following week for the governor's state of the state and budget address. But then you get the progression towards the end of May that they have to pass the state budget with simple majorities. So between now and then, you're going to hear a lot of different things floated, different ideas proposed, different policies and whatnot. So yesterday they came into session and they had a House committee hearing that dealt with the shortage of labor in the long-term care space. So they're looking at trying to get more CNAs to be working at long-term care facilities like nursing homes, for instance. And they've had other discussions about a shortage of staff for behavioral health centers as well. So clearly, that's a focus, and they're going to work to try to find some different ways to solve that. But you have other legislative proposals that are being floated, including getting rid of tipped wages. If you follow me on X, you see the story I posted with thecentersquare.com about an effort to try to end tipped wages across the state and to have every server, every busboy make minimum wage in the state of Illinois with tips on top. Well, while Chicago may have done that recently, I did talk with State Representative Mike Coffey, who owns several restaurants. He's adamantly opposed to this idea. He has no illusions in a state like Illinois, which is Democrat-leaning, and saying that he worries that this is something that's going to be implemented statewide. He's going to fight against it. Those pushing for it say that these individuals working in the hospitality sector deserve to get the minimum wage, and they work their tails off, and they get the minimum, and they should get the minimum wage with tips on top. But Coffey says that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is fewer people are going to work because it's going to drive up labor costs for restaurants that already have very thin margins. Meaning you're going to have fewer restaurants. You're going to have fewer staff for those restaurants. They're going to find ways to do more with less. And then those who are working, Will they get tips on top? I don't know. That's an interesting conversation to have. And maybe at the end of the week, we open it up for your Discord calls to sound off on whether or not we should get rid of the tipped wage. So that's an interesting thing that happened yesterday. There was a rally at the Statehouse delving into that. You also have other issues that are being brought up. Some local Springfield state lawmakers, they want to make sure that it's illegal and a felony for a funeral home to essentially mishandle human remains. There was a story back in October here in central Illinois of a funeral home that, it was discovered they gave the wrong ashes to somebody. And then they discovered that it was like a domino effect. Somebody else had different ashes, and then somebody else had different ashes. And then they found, I think they said 80 different instances of this. But prosecutors are having they have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to, are they going to charge it for fraud? Are they going to charge it for deception? Are they going to, how do they exactly handle this? Apparently, state law does not have something saying that you cannot mishandle human remains. I'm sure there might be a law about, trying to hide a body. But when it comes to human remains, there doesn't seem to be a law on that. So that might be something we see pushed. But you also have issues like a tax credit for families under a certain income threshold to get a child tax credit. We're going to hear about that today with several news conferences. We're going to hear about measures with the estate tax and farmers. So that's also been already on the table. We could see that advance and a whole host of other things in front of the Illinois General Assembly. But today, if you take a look, you've got at least looking at blueroomstream.com. They have a public schedule you can take a look at. And these are some of the things that they're putting top of mind. There's going to be a news conference about making fertility treatments more accessible. There's going to be a special Senate committee hearing on criminal law and public safety. I think that's going to be fascinating. Of course, a lot of the stories out of Chicago hitting on some troubling trends. Then you have a news conference with a state senator. The Manufacturers Association is going to lay out their agenda. You've got a statewide property tax relief proposal from some Republicans. And I've got word that a former state representative, Mark Batnick, is going to be part of that. And he's going to talk about the proposal he made before he left the General Assembly that a couple of current state representatives are going to take up. So Representative Ugasti and Ozinga going to be leading that news conference. And then you also have Black leaders talking about National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. Then the House and the Senate come into session. You'll hear about a news conference with the child tax credit. You'll see another Senate Executive Committee. And then House Minority Leader Tony McCombie will hold a news conference about a legislative update of some kind. So that's a little bit of an overview of what happened yesterday with the different committee hearings. They didn't really advance much. There was yesterday also a committee hearing on energy, which was interesting because you had a Democrat in the House and the Energy Committee yesterday afternoon say that they want to advance a bill that has more setbacks for solar installations and this big push towards renewable energy and solar farms and wind farms. Some people don't necessarily, they may like solar, but they don't want it 50 feet right next to their house. So there's an effort to try to have some kind of setback in state law to alleviate some of those concerns. So that was something else. But again, we're just starting with spring session. There's going to be so much more to talk about here, and I think that we'll definitely want you to stay tuned and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to stay plugged in with what's going on at the Illinois General Assembly. All right, that's all I got for you today, guys. Greatly appreciate you taking the time with me each and every weekday morning. Be sure to follow along on X for the latest, and you can also find me on Facebook as well. All right, so make it happen. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Bishop on air everywhere.